Okay, so the USCCB is going to be holding an election from November 10th to November 13th in Baltimore, Maryland. They'll be voting for a new president and vice president of the organization. Archbishop Timothy Broglio's 3-year term is ending, and I don't think his tenure has been a big success. Traditionalist Catholics have lost faith in the organization and are looking for a new president who can help to unify some of the fractured groups in the United States. So the bishops have nominated 10 candidates who will be voted on in November. I'm going to rank them in order of who I think will be the least successful to who I think would be the best. Okay, number 10 is a no-brainer. Archbishop Weisenberger of Detroit. He was appointed to this position right at the very end of the Francis pontificate. He wasted no time in cracking down on the traditional Catholics. After he came into the position, he took one of the most robust Latin Mass cities in America and pared it down to 4 non-parish locations around the archdiocese. Actually, looking back on it, that's pretty generous after the Latin Mass suppression started in places like Charlotte, North Carolina, and elsewhere. Then he fired 3 distinguished and traditional professors from the Sacred Heart Seminary without really even giving a reason. It's clearly suspected that it was over criticism of Pope Francis. Then he promoted David Burismeyer as the new diocesan ombudsman. He has ties to the Association of U.S. Catholic Priests, which is a heretical and heterodox Catholic organization. So yeah, Weisenberger would be the worst case scenario, which means it'll probably happen. Okay, number 9, going to go with Bishop David Malloy of the Diocese of Rockford, Illinois. He has experience working in the Vatican, in the papal household, and has held positions in the USCCB. There generally isn't a whole lot out there on him theologically, although he does have a history with the Latin Mass. In 2017, he placed restrictions on the use of the extraordinary form and on Mass ad orientem in his diocese. Priests must have his permission. His stated reason is to preserve unity and avoid confusion. So now he was doing this years before Pope Francis issued Traditionis Custodes. That's not necessarily a deal breaker, but it does kind of show a red flag. Okay, number 8, Bishop Daniel Flores of Brownsville, Texas. He's a rising star in the church, and many expect him to become the next Archbishop of New York. Again, not a ton to work with on theologically. He's been a very outspoken voice on immigration and the border. He's the bishop of a border diocese, so this seems mostly natural. He's a Thomist, which is a good sign, but he's also a big advocate for synodality, which is usually code for wanting to eventually usher in modernist reforms. So there's a lot of unknown there, but I think 8 is the right spot. Okay, so real quick, I want to talk about a great company that I've recently partnered with called Real Estate for Life. I generally haven't worked with sponsors on here, but this is the first time I've come across a group where I would actually use their services. Their real estate brokers are dialed in to what a Catholic family may be looking for. Parish and community life, a family-oriented environment, high-quality Catholic schools. Additionally, Real Estate for Life gives a portion of every sale to a pro-life charity. There are up-and-coming Catholic communities popping up all over the country. So if you need to buy a house or sell a house, follow the link in my description to the Real Estate for Life website and make sure to say that Purely Catholic sent you. Number 7, we have Archbishop Nelson Perez of Philadelphia. So Perez took over for Archbishop Chaput, who was a rock-ribbed traditionalist. His style is certainly different, and I'd say he leans towards the modernist side of things, but not in an over-the-top kind of way. Latin Mass restrictions are changing so quickly that it's hard to keep up, but I believe there are a number of diocesan parishes that still allow for the TLM within the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. So that could change at any time, but for now, I've got to give him some credit for that. Number 6, Archbishop Richard Henning of Boston. I've got him right in the middle of the pack because there's a lot we don't know about him. He replaced Archbishop Sean O'Malley, who was a strong confidant of Pope Francis, but Henning seems like a pretty straight shooter to me. If you've heard anything differently, then please leave it in the comments. Okay, number 5, Kevin Rhodes of the Diocese of Fort Wayne, South Bend, Indiana. So he has experience with the USCCB Committee on Religious Liberty and is a strong proponent of the issue. That's typically a good sign. He appears to be a Thomist and has given a number of lectures on the legacy of St. Thomas Aquinas. Rhodes was a proponent of denying communion to Joe Biden and has preached faithful citizenship in terms of ensuring Catholics do not adopt political positions incompatible with church teaching. I think he's a strong traditional voice. Okay, looking at number 4, we have Archbishop Paul Coakley of Oklahoma City. Coakley tends to uphold traditional Catholic doctrine. For example, in discussions about public morality, he engaged in statements about how public acts, by politicians for example, that conflict with church teaching matter for the faithful. On gender, sexuality, public morals, he tends to affirm traditional positions. He's not a hugely public culture war fighter like Bishop Strickland or even Archbishop Coeur de Leon, but he seems solid and could help get the USCCB back on track. Okay, number 3 is Archbishop Alexander Sample of Portland. So, Archbishop Sample is a Benedict XVI appointee and is currently on the traditional side of the spectrum. For instance, in May 2018, he directed that Catholics attending Mass in the Archdiocese must kneel after chanting the Lamb of God until they receive communion. He has also decreed that Catholics in the Archdiocese who are sexually active LGBT or divorced and civilly remarried who have not gotten an annulment should not receive the Eucharist. So look, almost all of the Latin Mass restrictions we're seeing come down around the country are coming from new bishops. I don't think it could hurt to have a counterweight at the top of the USCCB to at least provide some balance in the conversation. Okay, number 2, Bishop Robert Barron of Winona, Rochester, Minnesota. Please don't roast me in the comments for not making him number 1. Honestly, I think he could perform the duties of president of the USCCB and do a great job. He takes flack from all sides of the church, which means he may be on the right track theologically. He has tremendous experience in media, and the USCCB could use a few tips with that right now. They've garnered a lot of bad press over the years. However, I put Bishop Barron at number 2 because I think he's probably already stretched too thin, and maybe his talents are better utilized elsewhere. Okay, number 1 is Archbishop Charles Thompson of Indianapolis. I see Archbishop Thompson as a center traditional prelate, and I think he could be of value if we're looking for a reasonable and unifying USCCB. In his immigration and refugee statements, for example, he balances the need to respect the dignity of persons with the responsibility of nations to have security. This is a reasonable response, one that we're not getting from the Vatican. He often speaks in ways that avoid extremes, encouraging both and convictions rather than either or polarities, calling the faithful to unity rather than division. So if we're looking for an even-keeled man of God, then Thompson would be a pretty good choice, and in fact, I'm putting my money on him. So thanks for watching, and make sure to leave your ranking in the comments.